Black owned. It's about business, our culture, creating legacies. See us, hear us, support the movement. We are Black owned.
Hi everyone, this is Tanya of Black Owned Reporting. Black Owned Reporting is into promoting black businesses that come highly recommended. Black and minority owned companies have been denied the opportunity to grow. So we here at Black Owned Reporting are in the market to promote these companies so that they will succeed for generations to come. Today's interview featured Dr. Courtney Ray.
Hi.
Say hi to the people, Dr. Ray.
Hello.
Okay.
Thank you for having me today.
Oh, no problem. So glad to have you here today. So Dr. Ray is of Array Psychological Assessment. So Dr. Ray, are you ready for my battery of questions?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So as a black person, what led you to go into psychology and start your own business? Not many black people do this.
Right. So first of all, this is a second career. So my first career was doing ministry.
Oh.
And so I am an ordained pastor, and I worked in my church denomination for 20 years in different churches, both here in on the East Coast. I was in Baltimore, and then I eventually went to California, and I pastored there. And in the midst of pastoring different churches, I found that a lot of the people in my congregation had lots of different things that they wanted to get counseling about and to ask questions about. And when I went to seminary, I took a lot of classes about counseling, but pastoral counseling is different from clinical counseling and psychological counseling. Pastoral counseling deals a lot with being able to help people through spiritual issues and things like that. But there are some things that are more psychological in nature that maybe they need a specialist for. And so I would try to encourage people from my congregation when I would find that some of the things that they had issues with were sort of beyond my skill set. I would encourage them, hey, go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a therapist or a counselor, and a lot of them wouldn't go.
Okay.
Because, our community has a lot of stigma against psychological health.
Absolutely.
And so mental health is a big thing where people just, feel, oh, you're going to say that I'm crazy. Oh, only crazy people go to therapy, all that kind of thing. So I also saw that not just people who are black had issues with going to see mental health professionals, but also people of faith often will feel like, hey, I could just pray to Jesus and that'll be it, right? And what I often tell people is, we see in the Bible that Jesus healed those who were blind, he healed those who couldn't walk, but still, if you have a hearing problem or a physical problem with your body, a heart problem, a kidney problem, you would go to the doctor and you would seek medical attention. It's not that we don't believe that Jesus can heal, but we also know that we have been given the gift of people who can help us in different areas. And mental health is no different than physical health.
Okay.
And so I wanted to help people in that way. But like I said, people wouldn't go. And so I said, well, hey, you know what? If they won't go, then I guess I'm going to have to become the person that they could go to. And so I wound up going to my doctoral program, and I was there, got my PhD in clinical neuropsychology. So it's actually not counseling psychology that I specialize in, and some people don't know what neuropsychology is.
Okay.
Basically, just like how you have a physician, like a general practitioner,
Yes.
who can do all the kinds of general things physically to check you out and examine you. It's the same thing with psychologists. So psychologists, there are clinical psychologists, and all psychologists who are clinical psychologists are trained in the basics of counseling and therapy and everything like that. But then, just like with physicians, you can have specialists who get training beyond just sort of the general things. In psychology, you have people who can do specialties. And so there are different types of specialties, and neuropsychology is one of those. And so neuropsych is basically looking at how the brain affects behavior and how the biological processes of the brain help your emotions and your thinking and just the way you act and behave. And so we do a lot of diagnostic tests. So that's basically why it's array psychological assessments, because I do assessments for people to diagnose them with something. So if you have a child who has difficulty in school, so I would be the one you would come to get a diagnosis for a learning disability. Or autism, I do a lot of autism testing as well. Sometimes if you want your child to go to a special program for autism, and you know about that, yes. You know that they need to have a specific diagnosis in order to come to the program. And so that's what I do. People would come and they would come to get a diagnosis from me. We also do diagnoses for Alzheimer's and depression and anxiety and giftedness. So it's not all bad stuff. You know, it's not, that's the one thing I want people to know. It's not that you come because you think that there's something wrong, but you come to just see how your brain works and what's
to build
going
like
on.
an understanding.
Exactly.
I see. That is so interesting. That is so interesting. Thank you for the detailed response. So, since you started your organization, tell me some of the triumphs you've had.
Well, one of the things that I've really been proud of is being able to not just work within my community, but also help people to come to a better understanding. And even if you don't come to me, you can at least know about what neuropsychology is. And I'm also the president of the Society for Black Neuropsychology. So the Society for Black Neuropsychology is committed to helping students and at every level, so elementary students, high school students, college students, grad students, know that this is something that they could get into as well. So if you are a student who wants to be a neuropsychologist or a psychologist of any type, especially if you are Black, we want you to know that this is a career that is an option, because we need more diversity. And then also the other part of it is we want to be able to do clinical trials. And sometimes people get very scared at that because they've heard things like the Tuskegee experiments and all that other kind of stuff, and that's not what it is. Psychologists do not do any type of invasive things. We're not injecting you with anything like that. But when there are tests, like in New York, you have to take a test. Is it a 4th grade that they have to take a test? So these standardized tests that our kids are graded against, if you only are sampling a small sample of what the student population is, then that becomes the normal.
Right.
And so our kids are getting judged against whatever standards there might be.
Right.
So what we want to do is increase the amount of diversity in the samples that are getting tested, so that when we do these tests and things like that,
you're essentially setting up a new normal.
Exactly.
That includes a whole array of people.
Exactly.
Hence the name array psychology.
Exactly.
Assessment.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly. So I don't want people to be afraid of like the word testing, because that can make people a little bit scared. But do not. It's not what you might think.
I hear you. Thank you so much. So tell me, how can your services benefit the Black community?
Well, like I said, in being able to help people get tested and creating those new norms and new standards for people to get their intelligence testing done according to a norm that includes us. Also, helping people who have Alzheimer's or some other dementia diseases and things like that, and helping them to understand that there are things you can do to help to cope with different issues, and helping people who have depression and anxiety, because that's something that our community, we have kind of this myth that we're invincible, and that nothing phases
Superwoman.
us. Yeah,
Yes.
super black woman, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And the truth is that we all need a little bit of help sometimes. We all need someone to, you know, give, just like I said, when you go to a physician, they're there to help you. They're not trying to find out what's wrong and say that you're a bad person because there's something that you can get some help with. The same thing with psychologists. We're not trying to make you feel badly about yourself. The ultimate goal is trying to help each person who comes and help them to know how they can improve their lives. And that's basically what we do.
If anyone needs to reach you for your services, how can they reach you?
All right, so there are two websites that I want to tell you about. One is my personal website, and the other one is the website for the Society for Black Neuropsychology. So my website for my business is www.apamind.com. So Array Psychological Assessments is apamind.com. So go on my website and you'll see the array of things, the array of assessments that are available. So that's apamind.com. And then the second one, for anyone who wants to know a little bit more about what neuropsychology is in general, and if you are someone who believes in the cause of helping Black people, no matter what your particular background is, if that is an interest of yours, go to the Society for Black Neuropsychology. That is our website. It's societyforblackneuropsychology.org, and you can get more information about how you can be a member of our organization, or just get more information for your own self or somebody else.
What final advice would you give anyone who's interested in starting their own business?
One thing that I would say that's really important is to find someone who does what you do or that you aspire to do, and get information from them, and find someone who is willing to help you to learn more about the business. Don't be afraid and don't be ashamed of what you don't know. If you are new to a certain field, ask questions. Find someone who could be a mentor, and they might be Black and they might not be Black, but don't think that is a reason to not ask for advice. So that, I think, is the number one thing, making sure that you get someone who you can talk to. And hey, I have a few mentors all over the country.
Well, Dr. Ray, thank you so much for taking the time out
Yes,
to speak with us
absolutely.
at Black Owned Reporting. And to my listening audience, thank you for taking the time out and watching us. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And until next time.
I'm shining, 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 I'm shining.